time it is. Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Big game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing. I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, wanna get in my crew, but you can't get in my crew. Me, Axel, and Huber way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah.
My guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you? I'm sorry, I'm always in my groove, especially that countdown. That first one does it for me. Y'all should see me. I be like straight up chair dancing over here. How are you? Happy Monday and welcome back to Bella's Hope for Healing. Yes, thank you guys so much. I love you too, Steve. Yes, give some love to my producer, Jared. Thanks so much for all that you do behind the scenes. Well, guys, I am so happy to be here with you today. If you're wondering, yes, it's me. Hey, Shane, how are you? Yes, your sister is rocking the dreadlocks, man. You know me, I got to switch up the look. I'll get bored with that too quick, but it's still me and I still got the same heart. And I love y'all. And I want to give a shout out of thanks to all of you for joining my show. especially if you are here for the first time. I got to show you guys some love. Hey, Debbie, love you. I thank you so much. And I just want to encourage you guys to be sure to share this show. Sharing is caring. Smash that like button, guys. Hit that like button. I encourage you. Yes, take that gavel. Bam. Ask questions. Don't sit there and you know just wonder. Well, I wonder, or you might be concerned. You know, I don't want to sound offensive if I ask my. Please, it ain't like that up in here. This is where we keep it real. Okay, we keep it real because what we're doing is important. Advocating, information, trying to cause and create prevention of issues with our health out here, which is why I wanted to switch this up a little bit and talk about some other things. And that's exactly what we're going to do tonight. A very dear friend of mine who I actually bonded with since I've been in Florida is here tonight to share about her journey with liver disease, guys. And it's going to go even deeper than that. But before we get to that, I just want to let you know a few stats on liver disease because, hey, kidney disease is my baby, as is most of us. So thank you, Shamika, for sharing, because we have to educate on everything, and the reason for ourselves on everything. And the reason for that is because oftentimes many of these illnesses can lead into other illnesses, especially these kidneys, right? So this is why I want to do this. This is why I wanted to do this. So let me just share some information with you. Like I said, tonight our focus is going to be on liver disease. Now, roughly 4.9 million adults have liver disease, and more than 40,000 people die from it yearly. Okay, and those death rates have increased by 31% since the year of 2000 to 2015. And the age variations of that are from 45 years of age to 64. That's right, y'all. Baby boomers like myself and like many of you. So family, this is very serious. This illness is very serious. And I can tell you that many diseases actually coexist with chronic renal failure, like I said earlier, because many are systematic conditions that affect both the liver and the kidneys, right? So wake up, pay attention, get your Coca-Cola, because we're about to do this. Let me tell you about my guest. Other than her being such a beautiful person, which she is, Tracy and I became acquainted through Tampa General Hospital. A lot of my history here is actually through TGH volunteer work. And we would see patients, all the patients on the transplant floors. Tracy, of course, saw the liver patients, okay? And I loved her from the start. She's just an amazing spirit. She resides in Orlando, Florida, with her 15-year-old cutie pie son, Sage, which I love his name too, and her amazing life partner, Dave. She received her liver transplant on December 30th of 2018. She had to have a second liver transplant in January of 2019. But I'm gonna let her share the rest with you all, because she has, by God's grace, and truly God's grace, persevered through a recent rejection crisis. Tracy is also, again, an active member like myself of the Patient Family Advocacy Council at Tampa General Hospital, and she serves along with me as co-chairman of the Transplant PFAC board at TGH. She speaks at many colleges and universities on awareness about liver disease, and we're just so grateful to get ready to hear her journey. So please welcome my friend, liver recipient, Tracy Thomas. Take it away. Hey, beautiful.
Hi, I love
How
your
are you,
day.
Trace? Good. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
Absolutely,
You
it's my pleasure.
you look amazing.
Thank you. I'm feeling better.
I'm glad. I'm glad. So I'm going to go right into it because I've always been very intrigued by your story from the time that we met, and we swapped, of course, stories. So I want to start out by asking you to tell us how your journey with liver disease began.
Well, I was misdiagnosed for many, many years, and there'd be years that I would be told I'd have irritable bowel and to go home, and they would give me laxatives, and I'd be like, Mom, I just don't want to go to the hospital anymore because nothing's working. And, finally, after getting sick enough and letting my disease, which I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome for 15 years. And what no one took the time to do was to look and know that maybe something else was causing that. And come to find out, I was originally told I had fatty liver. And, as that progressed, it went into my kidneys started to shut down. I had a pancreatitis. My spleen was enlarged, and there'd be times that I would feel better and think that I'm doing great, and then times that I didn't. And roughly 5 years ago, 4 years ago, things started happening that we couldn't explain. Like I got stung by a bee, was never allergic to bees, and my entire hand swelled up. The fatigue was coming, my abdomen was, and all these things started. And finally, my mother and I went to the hospital and did some labs. And, it was quite scary to have someone tell you when you're 47 years old that you've got less than a year to live. So
Mm.
that's really when my journey started, because that wasn't an acceptable answer for me with a teenager and doing things by myself. So, diet changes, or you do the best that you can do. I think the hardest part was like, I had just quit working because I couldn't anymore. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't stop. I was nauseous constantly. Like the fatigue is real. And you can't explain that things are going on with your body, and your legs swell, and my mom was becoming concerned. So that's really when my journey began. And then, became proactive with everything. And thank goodness that I did. And I didn't stay with the first opinion, because Tampa General saved my life, not only once, but twice. And now just recently, a third time. So I'm so very, very lucky with my journey and my support and my team and people like you. So here I am.
Yeah, wow. Wow. That is really amazing. Again, like I said, Tracy, and the really interesting thing is, how these things can kind of creep upon us, through actually some things that are kind of things that you may deal with every day, or maybe not actually every day, but you get a few ailments and you think, we, as I like to use the term, we kind of poo it off. I'll be all right. And it actually ends up being something so serious, which is again why we always talk about the importance of not always, poo-pooing off little things, especially when you get to a certain age like this. So I know you did share a few things just now with regard to some of the symptoms that you were having that led up to this. Now, can you share with everyone actually what the symptoms are when you literally went into liver failure?
Yeah, I mean, it really started. At first, I couldn't explain what was going on. I think that the biggest thing for me was when I started getting sick. I got extremely jaundiced, and I didn't see it. I thought I was tan, and I don't think you always see stuff in yourself. And it wasn't until like my boyfriend was coming to take me out one day. And I'm trying to be sexy with a smoky eye, and there's just nothing sexy about a yellow smoky eye. um,
Mm-hmm.
you get jaundice. Your abdomen is swollen and very distended, like you can push on it and it's rock hard. And
Mm-hmm.
you are like, well, I just haven't gone to the bathroom. Maybe I'm constant. Exactly what you said. You make excuses. Itchiness, like uncontrollable itchiness. You're like, did I get bit by something? Am I allergic? Is it
Mm-hmm.
pollen? Changes in your urine. Like sometimes you might be dehydrated and your urine is like a little bit dark yellow. Your urine it will become more smelly, darker. Changes in your stool. It's stuff like you don't really want to talk about, like, hey, this kind of is not right today. And there are things that at first you don't want to talk about until you get sick enough that you are like, my stool is yellow, my pee is brown, and you don't want to be gross, but that's what it is. Um,
Yeah.
Excessive swelling is another one. Like I couldn't put my shoes on anymore.
Wow.
Being cold, it would be 90 degrees outside, and my mom would think I looked like a homeless person as I was having blankets wrapped around me walking in the store because you can't get warm enough.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and what's interesting, like when you just mentioned about the itching, the color of the urine, um, those elements right there are definitely flip that over to the early stages of kidney problems as well.
Yeah.
A lot of issues with the urine, either the output or lack of, and I didn't actually have the itching factor too much, but that is definitely a part of it. And that's what I meant, guys, in saying, these things, it's all like they're almost a part of the same family. And so that's why it's so important to get checked out, because you actually at that time don't know what can be going on with you. And if I'm not mistaken, Tracy, isn't, because I'm still learning a lot about liver disease, isn't it also true that that this can be going on for quite some time and a person not even know it?
Yeah, because some of those symptoms, like your abdomen swollen or your stool changes, or being cold or something. You make excuses for a lot of that stuff. You don't think like it's all combined into something because they're easily explainable. Mm-hmm. So you normally don't go to the doctor and go, oh, I'm itching. What do I do? You normally take Benadryl, put some lotion on, or oh, my urine's brown, drink more water. Like you can easily have things like that. So until you get sick, but like I said, by the time I finally went to the doctor, I was told that I wasn't going to live without a liver transplant, and I'd be lucky to live a year. And that's just a lot to swallow overnight when you think you're strong and you keep going. And girl, you know how it is. You fake it till you make it. You put on your happy face when you make it. And a lot of time, sick people are faking being well.
You know that right.
But you don't want the attention. You think you're fine. And, I did that for so long until my body really literally just gave out.
Wow. Yes, you are so right about that. How people fake it and especially our men. I love you guys, but you guys are the worst at admitting something is wrong with you. I don't know why. I guess it's just in the male DNA, just to think that certain things are a weakness. You know what I mean? I know my grandfather, God rest his soul, who I love dearly, sat and allowed his illness to fester and not say anything to my grandmother, not say anything to us, silent. thing. And so just like we have these silent killers of high blood pressure, that don't manifest until it's like literally full blown. Now, I have a two-part question for you next.
Absolutely.
First, is liver disease in stages, like kidney disease has stages? That's the first part. You can answer it in whatever order you like. And then you and I know that every disease pretty much has its myths and misconceptions about it. And so I'd like you to share what are some of those myths and misconceptions with regard to one of the most popular, I read, liver diseases, which is, of course, cirrhosis.
Yes. It's hard. It does come in 5 stages. Stage, 1, 2, 3, 4 in liver cancer.
Okay.
As you get into end stage liver disease, you can get encephalopathy too, which is the ammonia, your liver no longer is functioning, and the ammonia builds up and goes into your brain, and you start forgetting or becoming combative. And, at different stages, there's that. Cirrhosis is not only from drinking. Cirrhosis is a scarred liver, however you got it. If you got it from fatty liver, if you got it from non-alcoholic end-stage liver disease, if you got it from hepatitis B or C, from, either, you don't think, sexual contact when you're younger and stuff like that, you may not have some of the same things that affect your liver. Also, anything with acetaminophen. If you have a headache and take more than suggested Tylenol, you can cause liver damage. Now, the great thing about the liver is, if you catch the damage early enough, it can regenerate, and it can regenerate itself 50 to 60%. If you have fatty liver, there are changes. You're not to cirrhosis yet, but if you do have fatty liver, it's telling you you're getting up there on your stages, and you need to make some lifestyle changes, and that can be in your diet, for things like no red meat, no fried food, no salt, but it will help your liver. Obviously, cut down drinking. If you're taking a lot of over-the-counter products, cut those down and talk with your doctor, because as the stages go, once you get to cirrhosis, you'll only live 6 months to 2 years.
Wow.
if you don't have a transplant.
Wow. So unlike kidney disease, there's a much broader window, usually, as far as, we can survive on dialysis. My grandmother survived on it 10 years. You know what I mean? But I see how liver disease, I would have to definitely say, is much more intense and on a broader scale. So that's why this is so critical. And I wanted to do this, show on this, because a lot of times it's best to ask. I know my nephrologist does regularly what's called a liver panel on me every so often, just to make sure that my liver is okay, because as recipients, kidney family, these meds can send us into a liver problem. So for those of you that don't know and aren't aware, make sure, if your nephrologist has not mentioned that, and you haven't had one in a while, tell him you want to have a liver panel done to check your liver. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that, right, Tracy?
Yeah, and that's one of the first things you could do. You could just say, hey, because if your liver enzymes are elevated, something's going on. And, on my chart, I have about 5 different numbers that I look at to see if I'm okay. If something is off, if something's wrong, bilirubin is a huge one. And that's the amount of ammonia in your body, because your liver can't detoxify the toxins and it turns to ammonia. And, and which also affects your kidneys. My liver failure started with liver failure. By the time I went to the hospital, my kidneys weren't functioning properly. My pancreas, I had pancreatitis, but by that time, the pain doesn't even hurt from that. My spleen was enlarged almost 3 times because I was shutting down. So they very much all do go together with different things, like kidney. You can live with one kidney or you can have dialysis. Liver, you can't live without your liver. And if it gets to a point that it's too scarred and can't repair, then you're just basically, it's a death sentence unless, you get a wonderful gift like we did.
Okay, right. Hey, I want to take a quick question. Jared, could you throw up that question from Latarcia, please? I know she asked something earlier. See, I saw you, hon. I didn't forget about you, but I have to wait until the gap. Okay, so Tracy, she's saying, can you talk about fatty liver? My doctor said it was common. All I need to do is exercise and that it'll go away.
Exercise is a great thing and you got to keep moving. That's highly recommended. But the biggest thing that will help with fatty liver is your diet and your diet intake. And as you're going through the liver process, your diet will change so much from what you can have. The last time I was just in the hospital and I'm like, really, what else can I have? Because it changes so much. But if you stay away from white rice, pasta, carbs, bread, that's number one. Red meat, anything fried, salt, that leaves a lot out. But if you go to, unfortunately, the truth is, if you go to the more fruits and vegetables and exercise, but we've heard our whole life. But, fatty liver, do a little exercise, get a routine in there and just watch what you're eating. And then, it can help so it doesn't increase to the next level.
Okay, thank you for answering that. I hope that answered your question, hon. And this from this doll right here, who I know well, Yvonne Smith, she said, hi, Tracy. God truly has the last say in our lives. How has this situation changed you spiritually?
From what I have seen through myself and visiting patients, miracles happen. I can tell you prayers matter. I can tell you, you see things that that God is looking out for you. He really is, because there's times, and science, of course, but, after the rejection that I just went through and seeing how I feel now and knowing how I felt only 3 months ago, it's, night and day. And I think you just live a more grateful life. I think you find the more positives in things. I think I never enjoyed birds chirping so much, or frogs, and I'm not a frog type of gal, but, when they're out talking, I'm like, hey, but I think you just appreciate the gifts that you're given, and like Bella, you've been a huge gift since this, and all of it plays a factor. I think a good positive attitude, spirituality, praying, and being proactive, because we only have one us.
Right.
And sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves, and sometimes we forget to look like how awesome we are, because people don't know the struggle we're going through internally, and you're getting up every day and you're like, if they only knew.
Girl.
I'm so thankful to God and my friends and my support group and my team, because it's a team that makes it happen.
Yeah, so true. So true. Shane says, I have CKD and liver disease, really scares me. Yeah. So that's why it's so important, Shane, to do everything that, Tracy is advising, because she's lived it. Yeah, hey Debbie, God does look after his children. Yes, he does. He's awesome. And I would definitely agree with everything you said. And I know for me, what I realized was one of the greatest things that I have done since receiving my gift almost 17 years ago was put all that I went through into other people to help them.
Absolutely.
My volunteer work means everything to me. And that's why I was so devastated last year when it shut down. You know, and I know you and countless others, Debbie, we were talking about that earlier in our meeting. But that's okay, because I know that God is going to reinvent that. He's going to reintroduce that into our lives. And I was so grateful for this podcast when Steve Belcher, the director, came to me, because this was one of the greatest ways also for me to, you know, give back and share these experiences with everyone. So based on the fact, thank you, Yvonne, based on the fact for your question, and yeah, guys, keep them coming. Based on the fact that what you just shared about this recent rejection, I'd like for you to actually, that leads us right into that, because this is just, I didn't see this coming.
I didn't see it coming.
Right, of course you didn't, but even as your friend, I never would have thought. So can you share that with everyone, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, after my second transplant, I felt like a 25-year-old. Incredible. I had energy I didn't have before. My skin looked good. I was active. It was wonderful. And, COVID came, and that's a scary thing, because I just got a second chance of life and have no immune system. And so we were staying home and taking it careful and not doing anything we weren't supposed to do. And of course, because I'm fearful, I just got this gift after not being sick for so long, and things are shutting down. And I one night I had a migraine, and I was vomiting all night long. And I went to my boyfriend and I said, something's wrong. We need to go to the hospital. And while I went to the hospital, they just said, your white blood cell counts are a little elevated. Do you mind if we just observe you tonight? And I'm like, no. And so they're like, the next day the count was a little bit high. Well, by the third, and they had taken scans because I was vomiting and all this. And on the third day they took a scan. And while I was in the hospital, my liver clotted. No explanation to it. We don't know why, but so we thought that, okay, it's just a clot. And the doctors came. I had to go back to Tampa where I got my transplant. And they said, no problem, we'll put you on blood thinners. So I said, okay, hopefully this will help. Well, less than a week later, I was in the hospital and my numbers were completely out of whack. I was taking labs after I went to on the blood thinners, and my liver enzymes and liver numbers went basically off the chart. And they said, you need to come to the hospital. So I went back to the hospital, and then I was in rejection. And while I was in rejection, I didn't feel like I was in rejection at all. I felt fine. To be honest with you, actually, the second time I was in the hospital, I was doing yoga in my hospital room because I felt okay, and they're looking at the heart monitor going, something's happening. And they're like, oh, she's just doing yoga. As that progressed, they let me go home because I there was kind of nothing else we could do, and I was taking meds. And 4 days later, they said, you need to come back. Well, when I went back on the fourth time, not only did I have a clot and rejection, I had a serious blood infection. And I feel so lucky, and so I got a second chance. So I didn't know if this was going to not be my second chance. I didn't know, and I was crying to my boyfriend, and I said, I haven't even got to enjoy my family yet. really, because what a lot of people didn't know is the mental stress that this took on my son. And, and while I'm sitting in the hospital, we couldn't figure out how to get the numbers to go down. And then the third time that I was in there, that's when I was the sickest. And it was the first time that I didn't think I was going to make it. And I didn't know, I was talking with my mom about the will and what goes where and where's my child going to go. And those are very surreal conversations to have when you're fighting for your life. And with the blood infection, it went like into my brain. I started hallucinating, it's, man, you just are praying for something to give in and not give up. And no matter what pain you're going through, you think of your loved ones, and you think that I still felt like I had way too much work to do with helping other people, because service is really what it's about, and how you can be of service. Because when you're going through these diseases or these illnesses, you're scared. And you can hear a doctor talking to you, but what a doctor says to you doesn't mean the same as if you can see someone else who's gone through it and they're like, you made it. Yes. Easy, but you can do it. So don't give up. Because when we would talk at the hospital and tell them about, when I would go in there and I'm like, a year ago, I was sitting in your seat with failure, not knowing what was going to happen. People are like, you were just in this chair a year ago. And you're seeing how sick they are. And to give them some sort of hope, or to give anyone some sort of hope, is really what it's about.
Oh my God. Yes.
You know more than you. I mean, we've come out of reading talking, and you're just like, oh.
It's honey. You, as they say, you preach it to the choir. I feel everything that you feel, and in the same way that you feel it. That is the beauty of it. And that is where, again, like I said, the true blessing comes in. Those are the things that help keep us grateful and humble. And that's what it's all about. But I want to touch for a minute on what you said with regard to the factor of rejection, because this is important for everybody, every recipient to know, or any future recipients as well. I don't want to forget about you guys that are waiting. And of course, I'm always praying for all my followers, of my show and Urban Outreach period, to get their transplants, those that are waiting. But that's where you got to be careful, again, not disregarding any type of unusual symptoms that you're having, especially when it comes to things like vomiting. Now, unless you ate some bad Chinese food, and I don't mean to target the Chinese, but I've done that before, or some food that was bad, and it's bad because food poisoning starts a certain way, and you kind of know that that's probably what it is after it's gone through all its phases from blah to blah, So these things have symptoms, rejection, but it's quiet. Okay, and the only real way to know that it's a rejection is through the labs. That's what will show it. You can be fine even. It's Tracy, I've known some people, met some people who they were like, I just came to the hospital for one thing. They, of course, did labs. This is the recipient I'm talking about. And next thing they know, they said, you're in a rejection.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that those symptoms weren't going to start manifesting. But see, this is why this is so critical, that to be proactive and find out what's going on with your body. And so thank you for sharing that. And Jared, do we have another question before I move on to my next one? I've been trying to kind of jot down if I saw any. So if you have any more, please, put them on the screen. But my next question, Tracy, or let me start that out with a statement. So many people that are on the transplant list are apprehensive, as you know, about donation, even in death. I always say this, but more so, we're talking about living donation, okay, which is the greatest kind and the most wonderful kind to get. And a lot of them, I know, are afraid even that need it, because you know how they come to you and they tell you, well, we have a kid, this is a deceased donor, a kidney or whatever, a liver, but we just need you to know that this person had Hep C, or something else that but they could still donate. So would you happen to know if a person can still donate their liver if they were a drinker, excessive with, an excessive drinker, or if they were gay, or if they have Hep C?
Absolutely. And this is the great thing about science and, what these doctors and teams are doing, because we're constantly learning and evolving. So like, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't donate because I'm gay. Yeah, you most certainly can. And what is called a high risk. Because if you're someone who's a drinker, if you're an intravenous drug user, if you're a prostitute, if you've been in jail for any length of time, all of those things are considered high risk behaviors. If you're in the restaurant business or bar business, which I was for many, many years, many of us are exposed to hepatitis B. We may not have it. When you opt to get a high risk organ, what it will do is it cuts your wait list time. So say an average wait list time, and it's different for every organ, it's different for every state because of how they're allocated. But where I'm in Orlando, say an average wait list time might be about 180 days. Okay. Well, if you take a high risk organ, you can cut that to almost 90 in some cases. So what they'll do is they'll say, we have an organ available. They'll call you on the wait list, and every single phone call you get on the wait list, you will never hate automatic people calling you more than when you're on a wait list. But you increase your chances of getting an organ faster. And if you're that sick, one of my organs was a high risk, and they said it was exposed to hepatitis B, and you take a medicine for it, so you never get it. Now that one didn't work, and my next organ was not a high risk. But hepatitis C, before the treatments for hepatitis C didn't have a good cure rate. Now they'll give you a hepatitis C liver, because we're already taking so many meds after our transplant, and the cure rate for it is a much better, like a 97%. So they'll give you an extra medicine for a couple extra months, and so and it's everyone's own personal opinion, but you can, once you donate, don't think like, oh, my organs aren't good, I can't donate. You have no idea, because they can take skin, hair, tissue, 8 lives. There's so much. I mean, you could save a life and have a legacy for a child who's been sick and has not ever known anyone. Or I was sick for so long. I always told my boyfriend I was so busy surviving, I forgot how to live.
Wow.
And so once I got that second chance, girl, I want to exercise. I want to be cute. I want to be out. I want to, because you feel good.
Yes.
So, you can give that gift, to someone, you're not going to use them anymore.
Yes.
You could give, just happiness and joy when, through your suffering and sorrow, you're giving a legacy to another family. And my girlfriend lost her son at 14 years old. He was murdered. And, they lived in Maryland, and, Black and brown Americans do not often, they're not big donors, and they're the ones who need it the most. And Bella, you and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
And her son died at 14 years old. And, there's not a day that she doesn't think about him, but she gave a gift of life. She's heard his heartbeat, and a girl that graduated, she talks to some of these, the people who've received his organs. And for her, that's keeping his legacy alive, which is, which is a gift that we always talk about. Like we've got a gift.
Yes. And again, I generally always say too, Tracy, that's so true. That was quite a few of those statements. The whole statement was very profound, what you just said. Thanks. But you have the best thing to do, I tell people, ask yourself, if you needed it, would you take it? And if you are willing to take it, how could you not be willing to give? Now this happens all the time, like you said, and in various races. With being with LifeLink, I've had quite a few people of different cultures that say, mine is old and it's stanky and y'all wouldn't want it anyway, whatever. I mean, what haven't I heard? Not stanky, but I'm just playing with that. But what they don't realize too, and I do want to say this with regard to with livers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in relation to living donation, I believe is it true that the liver regenerates itself? Can it be regenerated? Like can a person give like a portion of their liver or something? I might be off with that a little bit.
No, you're not off. Depending upon the damage of your liver. So, if more than if there's like fatty liver, it can repair itself. Stage 4 liver disease, you can't repair. So the problem with a live donor for a liver, so with a kidney, you have an extra kidney or you keep your native one in there. So for a live liver donation, which most of them are pediatric, right from the mom, and currently we don't do them in Tampa. I'm not sure if we do them in Florida, but you still need a backup liver, because now you've got 2 people that could have 2 complications. And that's the little bit of the tricky side with a live liver donor, because you're taking a portion of someone else's liver and their liver will regenerate because they have a healthy liver. And then the piece that we get will grow as well. But the actual surgeries and the timing, and there can tend to be much more complications as it stands right now. Now, how that will go in the future, I'm not really sure. And they do them in some places, but I got a cadaver. So.
And Tracy, that was going to be one of my next questions to you. What was the wait time? What was your wait time? And then what is the waiting time on the list for a deceased donor liver?
Well, there's really, you can't really put what someone's wait time is going to be, because it depends on your body size, the size of I couldn't get a 300-pound man's liver. Do you know what I mean? So you go with body size, you go with blood type, so an AB blood type, which is more rare, might have to wait longer or sooner. And also the wait is longer depending on where you are geographically. Like up in New York, they have 5-year wait times.
Wow.
If you make it that long. And 10 people a day die on the waiting list. My wait time, thank goodness for Tampa, because once they saw how sick I was when I went there for a second opinion, they expedited me. And 4 months later, I got my first call. Okay. Which was great. We didn't know if I'd make it that that long. Also, certain times of the year, which is sad to say, but holidays, you lose people a lot more too. So organs can be a little bit more available because of, either drunk driving or things that happen that way, or, depression during the holidays. It's sad to think of that way, but more organs are available during certain times too.
Yeah, that is sad, but very,
Yes.
very, very true. There are certain times of the year when the suicide rate
Or
is high.
travel. Yeah, or there's more people on the road and there's
Oh
more,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, right, right. The holidays can bring joy, but they can unfortunately also, bring sadness to some also. So mental health very important as well. So I want to just back up for a minute because this last rejection, that thanks Debbie, she says she's grateful you're here. This last rejection that you had, Tracy, you had to undergo a dialysis treatment, right? Because it started kind of affecting your kidneys in some way. Can you share that with everyone?
I know the when I got my first transplant, I had to get another one 5 days later. And when that happened, my kidneys didn't want to wake up. So they were pumping me full of fluids and told me that there could be a good chance that I'm on dialysis after, which is something that there's many side effects you deal with after a transplant. Some people go on dialysis. Some people are diabetic. Many people have anxiety, there's so many things that happen after that when you're going into it. If I had to be on dialysis, take me in, let's go, we'll read a book, tell some jokes, make some friends and do my time, because I still have the gift of time to spend with my son. But, you just don't know what's going to happen when you wake up. Now, thankfully, while I was in the hospital, my kidneys decided to work for me and I didn't have to go that full route. But I was diabetic after for 6 months, which that was something new. And, you change your diet and give yourself some shots. And then as my body healed, I was no longer diabetic. So,
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Because again, I have known some people who were quite a few in the hospital for one issue, and it unfortunately downward spiraled into either a full-blown kidney problem or just a temporary, situation. But I say even when it's temporary, it's important and even for you to kind of keep a little eye, a watchful eye on that, just your creatinine levels and, things like that, or anybody else who maybe had a once upon a time situation with that. Jared, can you put that question back up that Tarshia looked like a good one? She said, "You look good, girl." And she said she heard you say that you had a pancreatic disease. How's that coming along for you, and how does your liver and kidney cope, or how did it cope with that?
I actually had end-stage liver disease. I had cirrhosis, which was caused by drinking because I was a bartender, but I also was misdiagnosed that no one ever caught that I had autoimmune hepatitis. But what happened was, as my liver was failing, the pancreatitis, because your other organs are working overtime, my liver, as it decreased, my other organs are doing more work. And, the pancreas was enlarged. I mean, pancreatitis, when you were to the level that I was at, you're in pain every day. So when they ask you, like, what's your pain level, it's kind of like, really? You get so used to it. So, yeah, my abdomen was so swollen. I couldn't tell you if it was my pancreas, what it was. but I didn't have pancreatic disease, which is a little bit different. And there's different fatality rates and different routes that they take for the pancreas, but very successful transplants too. And you know, my kidneys just got better. And I think, Bella, like when you're in something like Bella and I think you start to look at your other numbers because you're more aware that this can just come out of anywhere, and you want to be more proactive. So, you know, you might go get your labs a little bit more, because let's face it, as we all might be getting cuter, we're not getting younger. No.
I know, I'm laughing because again, you're saying something that I say. The way I say it is, you can look great from the outside, but we're still aging inside. Our organs are aging, our joints are aging, our brain is aging, which might seem a little humorous, but no, this is where now we're talking about, as you age, potential Alzheimer's and dementia. And that is really hard to see someone you love go through that. I have seen it, and I'm sure many others, on the show have loved ones or whatever that they know that went through that. So it's really, I couldn't agree more, Tracy. It's not about being paranoid,
no,
but being proactive and checking out things that you normally might not really check out. Hey, I ain't having a problem in that area, especially your heart too. Okay. Right. Because I'm getting ready to set up a stress test for myself. Now, I don't really have any issues with my heart, but as recipients, guys, we have to keep in mind that the unfortunate reality is too, the further post we are, and having been on these medications for years, it can unfortunately downward spiral us into other things. So It's just better if something does come up, the best thing to go down is to catch it in time in its early stage. So that is so true. So Tracy, I don't have many more questions for you, but I want to ask you this too. With many of the symptoms being silent, or mimicking other possibilities and other issues, what would you suggest a person do, like in relation to the liver exclusively, to stay alert, about?
Well, I mean, your body talks to you. Like you can tell through someone's eyes if like something's off or not feeling well. I know like a lot of people with, I was always taught growing up, like the alcoholics always had the big bulby nose. Well, I never considered mine bulby, so I'm like, ooh, but I can tell you there's so many people that I know with that hard, distended abdomen that might think it's okay, or they're not feeling that bad. And my boyfriend right now has a friend who just got on the waiting list, and I have another friend who's on the waiting list for liver. So some of it is age related too. I would highly just recommend go in, get a physical, ask for labs, because that's going to be your first front line on that something's wrong. Whether your liver enzymes are elevated or your bilirubin is elevated, or there's stuff you might not see. Like I started getting little spots on my face and on my arms, and they weren't pimples. They weren't, I didn't know what they were. Well, they were liver spots. And as soon as I got my liver, they were gone like in 2 days. My nails, your nail beds, my nails would just I would hit one and it would fall off. And, it was terrible, but it's really like your body tells you things, and these meds especially. So if you've are concerned about your health, or think like, does my abdomen supposed to look like this, or do I just need to go on a diet? Do I need, I've been feeling fatigued lately. I've been vomiting more than normal, or even fatigue, which is so hard. Like, you don't even ever want to say you're fatigued, because you feel, when you say that, you're like, am I being lazy? Am I just not doing more than I could do? And I've always tried to be go-getter. Well, now I listen to my body. If my body tells me I need rest, girl, I'm resting.
That's right.
Because it's not worth everything else it does, mentally, physically, physiologically, and all of that is also related. When you start not feeling well, mentally, you start questioning and doubting things, and then after transplant, like you said, you're on so many meds, there's so many side effects, they have adverse effects, but you really, you're just grateful to be alive. And if when my hair was falling out, that's it's horrible for a woman to have her hair fall out. When you're going through so much, and you're like, my body is 40 pounds different than I'm used to it being. I'm swollen here, I'm bruised here, I've got spots here, and now my hair's falling out. Are you kidding me? It's kind of how you look at it. Like, I told my boyfriend, I went and got clip-ins, and I'm like, look, now you got Beyonce. It's how you look at it, but being alone, like, you can make a joke out of it, but being alone in a bathroom when you're just putting your fingers through your hair like this and it's falling out in clumps, you're horrified.
Yeah. And one thing I'm going to just piggyback on that you said, because I want to get a little more clarity even for myself on this, is regarding the abdomen, the distended abdomen. Did you say that is generally hard, or because a soft abdomen, I haven't done a whole lot of ab research except in relation to exercising, but a lot of times it's being overweight. Also, diabetes can cause a distended abdomen. But if it's liver issue, is it generally harder to touch, or
it can be rock hard? And I'll tell you, there was times that people thought I was pregnant when I wasn't, because it was so distended. And you're like, no, I just can't go to the bathroom, or no, I have a disease, but when it starts really, really getting distended, like at the end, before my transplant, like, I wasn't even really hardly processing water. Like, you're trying to, because you think water will flush everything out. Well, you get this thing that's called ascites, which is fluid in your abdomen, and your organs aren't working, so they're not coming out. Like, it's, you're not excreting them, so it stays in your abdomen, and it's called ascites. And when I went into the hospital, like, I had 8 liters drained from my abdomen of fluid.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's 4 2-liter bottles of soda. Okay.
My God.
Of fluid that couldn't go anywhere but my abdomen. So,
wow.
You go in and you take it and you drain it. And like, for some people it will give like a big relief, because you're not, but when you have that much fluid, it's pressing on all your organs, your back hurt, everything hurts.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Woo. That kind of reminds me of PD. Just the dialysate going in my abdomen and slowly expelling to, clean the peritoneum. I mean, to this day, I contribute some still periodic bloatedness to, it stretches the skin, girlfriend. So wait, that's the thing too. A lot of us, it's not safe to be getting these cosmetic surgeries, abdominoplasties, and, now I don't know if some transplant patients have had these things, but be careful about that too, going under the knife, because you don't want to risk, we're at high risk for infection because our immune systems are very weak. Look, embrace your body, Save it through being proactive. That's what I say. And exercise, you know, and yes, it's not easy. Healthy eating, of course, it's not easy, but really it will bless our bodies in the end. And mentally, it gives us better mental clarity. It really does when we eat healthier.
Yeah, and you'll find like your taste change too, like as you're going through stuff. Because I used to be a complete salty, savory. You know, when you can't have salt, let me tell you how much you miss salt. You know, but the first time you have something salty, you're like, ooh.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's right. That's true. That is so true. I stopped eating it when I got diagnosed. No salt. Stopped with beef and pork. Never went back. So we're talking about like almost 20 years now. So, and it does make a big difference. And you know right away when you touches your palate, because you like you said, whoa. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Tracy, we've had some wonderful comments coming up, and I didn't probably get to all of them, but I did get some, quite a few of them out. And so I think the last thing I just want to add, you know, is just about, you know, how all our journeys through, you know, through life altering illnesses, they can be arduous. And we all know that have been through them. And most of us, we're not able to get through them alone. It's so many single people that are struggling with things. And I think that's, you know, the hardest part. And it's really important to recognize, over and over, that those people need support, you know, and they need a focus, and you know, we do what we do. It's not because we have any expectations or anything, but it helps us, again, to keep humble and grateful. And I just wanted to give you a chance, Trace, and you did kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but an opportunity to just give a shout out of thanks to those who might be watching, you know, your family and friends out there who were there for you the entire time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I can't tell you, like, even when there's times that you can't respond, which through this last rejection, I have been terrible at responding. I went off social media. You know, what a lot of people don't know is like my vision has been affected through the meds and the transplants. And sometimes you can't really see or focus. Your hands can shake, and it's hard to write or hard to get on buttons to tap, you know, so there's sometimes a lot more going on. I'm so blessed that so many people, even when I couldn't respond, were like, just letting you know I love you, thinking about you, prayers. You're in our prayer group. You know, we talked about you. Those things are so encouraging, because you can have a moment of like weakness that you just feel like, can I continue? And then, you know, right at that time, a text message will come, thinking of you, love you. And then, you know, you get remotivated. I think that when you very first start this journey, it's scary as the dickens, because you don't know where to turn. You don't know what's going on. And you're starting to go through these things. And if you think that you have any, you know, even if it's possible, the only, you know, there's not a bad question. There's just not a bad question. You should ask about anything, especially when it's your own body, and ask someone who's been there. If you know, these groups like this and these podcasts are great, because I know I didn't have anybody to help me or talk to me or to know if I was going to be okay, or when was going to be the end, or what happens next, or, you know, like when my hair fell out, is this normal? You know, and it's sometimes to just seek out, whether it be on Facebook, you know, there's support groups, you know, and, you know, I drive my doctors crazy with questions, because, you know, I'll be, hey, can I go get Botox? And they're like, are you kidding me? You just got out of here. You know, you want to know questions like, you know, and I hope that I can say this, but, you know, when can you have sex again? You know, because you don't know, and you're scared, and you're putting your partner through something, and they're the one who's seen you sick. And, you know, you have to be positive and open to conversation and open to some criticism, and hopefully that you take the best lessons from it. Because how my partner was feeling, he may not have realized that today I was just fighting for my life, and I didn't have and he may be like, is she okay? Is she in pain? Do I touch her? So I would, if you would think that you're feeling anything, ask for help, go get help, or, look for stuff like this, that you can get answers to questions for people who have been through it, or you can just get hope and know that it's going to be okay. Because I can tell you, when I was laying in my bed hallucinating, forgetting that I had a child because the ammonia was in my brain so bad, when you look back on times like that, it is worth every kick and fight and bit of energy you have in you. My son just turned 15 last week. Like I get to do, I don't know if I just got healthy so I could start doing driver's education with my son, if that's going to be beneficial for me or not. But, I got to see him turn 15.
Wow.
It was worth the fight,
Yes. Wow. So yeah, girl, you definitely had some support behind you. And I know when you went ghost, as I call it, I was concerned, and you must have felt it because your mom ended up texting me. Because I remember I had been trying to reach you, and I was like, oh my God, praying so hard, had prayer groups praying for you.
Well, the one thing that you forget about too, I think so much, like we're talking so much about the physical aspect of this, is mentally.
Yep.
Because you go through anxiety, depression, you go through it. And those are the times when you really have to be the strongest, and when you feel alone or like you don't have the hope, and there was just days that this is the first time in my entire journey with this last rejection that, I wasn't positive all the time, that I was truly scared. Yeah. And to when you have other people around you that are trying to lift you up and encourage you, and they don't know what you're going through on the inside, it plays a mental toll on you too. And sometimes, you just need to refocus, pray, get your wits about you. And you didn't quit reaching out. And, it was finally like, I'm like, okay, now I can tell her everything, because in the midst of it, you don't want to tell someone, girl, I'm afraid I'm going to die.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah, Tracy. Right. Because for one thing, we don't want to bring anybody else down with us, but it's just like, you don't, those are not words that when you're in that place that you really want to utter. And that sometimes can cause you to enter retreat as well. And so I totally feel you on that. You don't want to scare your family. You didn't want to scare Sage, because especially when we've put them through that already, So, wow. Thanks, Tracy. Thank you so much, as Jared even just popped up and said, and many others, for being so forthcoming and open about sharing your story. And I love you. You're my girl. And one thing that I do for all my guests is I always reflect and pray about a scripture for each of them. And the scripture that God put on my heart about you comes from, and it's really short, it comes from Proverbs 31:25, which says, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she can laugh at the days to come. And that is what you are blessed to be able to do now, and just laugh and say, thank you, God, that you got me through another round. And you're still here, girl, getting ready to do great things continuously.
Well, I don't know which scripture this came from, Bella, but I do know in the Bible that it says about perseverance is to only know great suffering, is to persevere.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, I think that's where we're lucky, and we get to share our gifts with other people because, We know.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trace. I love you.
I
Thank
love
you,
you too.
everyone, for,
Thank you, everyone who came.
I hope that, you continue to thrive. I know that you will, in fact. It's not about my hope for you. But I really appreciate you, girl, and just continue to do what you're doing. We are on definitely the right path.
Thank you for the pleasure of your time.
Absolutely, honey. Take
Bye,
care.
honey.
Have a good night.
Okay.
So Sage, I said hello and happy birthday.
I will. They're both in their rooms being quiet right now.
Okay. All right. See you later.
Bye, honey.
Love you, girl. Wow. So there you go, guys. I mean, I really pray that this show has been a benefit to you guys. Yes, Yvonne, the blessing is in the pressing. That's right. So I'm going to use that word press, like my girl Yvonne said, and please continue to hit this share button before you sign out of we shut the show down, because we don't know. The one thing is people that weren't able to join this directly while it was live do come back and they look later, and we just never know who this can help or who it's going to bless. It is going to bless some people without a doubt. So please share it. You can continue to put comments under there if you like. If you have any further questions about anything, you can inbox me and I will put you, if I can't answer it, I can put you in touch with Tracy. As you can see, she's great at giving information about this, and we just want you guys to be well. That is what's most important to us, to spare you, if we can help it, what we had to endure. So you guys have a wonderful week. Continue to going into the weekend in safety, because this Delta strain is still out here. So let's not let our guards down too much. Okay. Enjoy life, but do it safely. And I just want to say, I love you guys. Jesus loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
But my guys know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cody's brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cody's brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die. CJ.